Welcome. We'll just take 1 minute before we start today. Wait just another moment. Thank you.
Almost there.
We'll wait 1 more minute for more folks to join.
Uh, I can see we have 8, 9.
Great. Well, I think we can probably get started. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We want to welcome you to Bridging the Gap Africa's first webinar series. Thank you so much. We're really excited to be talking with you today. We want to first thank our donors for your wonderful support. Some of you are listening in today. You keep us alive and help us help those who are vulnerable and most in need around the world. So thank you. And to those of you that have tuned in, thank you for taking time with us today. This session is being recorded, so we will be able to go back to it and share it with family and friends and colleagues. We've got a lot to share, so let's start off with some introductions. Harmon, good afternoon. We're in the afternoon time zone. How are you?
I'm great. And it's definitely afternoon, and it looks like it's going to pour the rain. But yeah, I'm great.
Thanks. Harmon Parker is the founder and CEO of Bridging the Gap Africa, and he started building pedestrian bridges, footbridges, in the eastern part of Africa in Kenya in the mid-90s. He'll share more about that and his work with the walking world, which he will also describe a little more about later. BTGA turns 30 next year. So happy early birthday, BTGA. It's been an exciting ride, I know, and we're here to listen today, Harmon, to your great stories. I'm Suzanne Sullivan, and I've been on a 25-year journey in international development and a longtime privileged partner of Bridging the Gap Africa. So uh, we'll dive into this 25-minute or so conversation. We'll have a Q&A toward the end to hopefully get a few questions. So put your questions in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get to at least one or two of those if you have a question. And with that, I think we can dive in. Follow us on social media and bookmark our website at bridgingthegapafrica.org for regular visits and updates. So, Harmon, a quick intro and tell us what you mean by a walking world.
Well, thanks, Suzanne, for the very warm introduction, kind introduction. And I know our listeners' time is very valuable. I want to thank them for joining, and let's have some fun and tell some stories. And I'm really thrilled about this opportunity to talk about um, the people that I call the walking world. Okay, and I think that's the way I define that. What is the walking world? Is it's the millions, if not billions, of people who literally live in remote regions, and they use their feet just to get around, just to walk. And it's a challenge. Life can be tough. It can be rugged for people, those who live in a walking world. But that's who I'm referring to, just to put it in context.
No, I think that's a great way to start this conversation because we are talking about, for many of our listeners, certainly for me, these places are very far off, very remote for many parts of the world, very remote. Um, I know when you and I were talking about putting this series together, we
Hmm.
were very focused on why people would tune into us. Okay, we have
Yeah.
this story, but sort of the so what. And maybe share with us what you were thinking when you wanted to share your story.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Why would anyone want to listen to our story when there's so many stories out there and needs everywhere? But for me personally, and those who know me, the why answer would be that I would want to inspire people who are listening. I want to inspire people to and tell them about the walking world. I want to be a voice, right? I want to be a voice for
Yeah.
the people that I've spent most of my life having the privilege to interact with and build bridges with together. And I want to build hope.
Yeah.
We need some hope, and I'm very hopeful in the situations when I'm out with the people I work with. And I think it's cool that maybe I'll share some lessons learned, from working with the diverse communities here in Kenya. And but it's been a real privilege, for me and BTGA to have worked in these regions and in partnership with communities. It's not only building bridges, but also the relational aspect, the relationships
Right.
we built. That's kind of the why. Um,
No, I think
so
that's really clear that that bridge and that hope, which of course you've experienced from working with the Walking World and partnership with them. So we want to hear more about that. I think it's helpful to start from the beginning. It's 1980s. I was a young child, and you're in Lexington, Kentucky.
I
You
was a young
yes, you're thinking that you may never leave, and all of a sudden you get this opportunity in the Congo. Tell us a little
man.
more about the beginnings.
Well, yeah, it's been a long and exciting journey. And wow, 1985, I was a young man. And that was my first experience, introduction to Africa. And I was invited through my church. Some missionaries needed a house built very quickly in the middle of the Congo. And I am a builder by trade. And and so they asked if I would come and help build their house. They were in need and they wanted to get it done pretty quickly, and I'm pretty fast. So yeah, I went to the Congo and was cut off from all communication for 6 weeks. When I arrived and got off the plane, I was presented with a 100-pound block with a big ribbon around it. Said, "Here, you have 6,000 of these to lay. So get to work." And I started that afternoon. Uh, and so after that opportunity, I don't know what happened, but I came back uh, to Lexington and I told my wife of 1 year, I said, wow, I think there's an opportunity for us. I feel a pull to Africa. There's something there. So that's how it all started. I don't think she was that thrilled at that moment, but that's how it all started. And then throughout the years that followed, we kept thinking and communicating with people, opportunities in Africa. In 1990, I was invited to go to Western Kenya to build a school. Okay. And this time we had a couple other asks, but this time we said yes. It seemed like the perfect thing for us to get to where we wanted to be and what we felt like we were to do. And I built the school, and it's very successful today. And it was like, when I was asked to go, I said, it's like why not? That's the kind of person I am. So that's how it all started.
And then
And
you
then,
you sort of late 90s, you met up with a friend and you started that first bridge.
yeah, yeah, it was in 1997. A really good friend of mine, Jay, asked if I could help him build a bridge. And once again, I said, why not? Yes.
Yeah.
And so we designed our first bridge, and we built it in a very remote region in northwestern Kenya called West Pokot. And it was a huge success. Once we completed it, um, you could see the impact immediately, the positive impact that a simple bridge could make for a community that suffered and struggled from a dangerous river. And kids couldn't get to school and couldn't get to medical clinics, couldn't get anywhere, couldn't get to the markets. And so after our first bridge, Suzanne, of course, through the Bush Telegraph, you've heard about that. It wasn't long that a neighboring community uh, requested a bridge as well. And um, that it kind of spread through that, and that's
But
how we got started.
but there was a moment I know for you, and you talk about that moment sometimes where um you started Bridging the Gap Africa. Tell us a little bit about what happened with you and the story behind that.
Yeah, well, as we were building bridges, I think we were on our third one, and during that time, I was watching the kids struggle to get through the river and slippery, rocks and elderlies with a cane trying to get across. But then I heard this one story from the bridge site of a young woman who had a very, very sick child. And she lived maybe 25, 30 kilometers up this very, very steep mountain. I never went up there. Other people did, but I couldn't make it. But I was building a bridge. But anyway, what happened was that the baby was so sick, and uh, she had exhausted all of her traditional remedies and trying to get the child to feel better. But she realized that the only hope for her now was to go to the clinic, which was, like I said, way down the hill. So she took her baby just like we would, and started hiking down the very steep mountain. And then when she got about halfway down, she looked up and she saw clouds building, very dark clouds, and she panicked and she realized what may happen. And so she kept walking and walking. And as she got closer to the river, her nightmare became true. She could hear the sound of the river flowing, flooding, and her heart broke. And when she finally got to the bank of the river, all she could do was sit down under a tree and watch the river flood by. There was no hope. There was no way that she could go to the life-saving clinic. And it was getting evening, and she could even see the lights of the clinic from where she sat. And very sadly and unfortunately, she lost her child. And after hearing that story and other stories as well, I was listening, is that there was just a defining moment. I realized that, man, this is really serious. No one is building bridges. There's NGOs all over Kenya, and they do a lot of great things, but no one is addressing this issue, this huge problem. And so, in Harmon style, I said, you know what? I'm going to build bridges for these communities. And I pretty much gave it my all, and I'm a bit bullheaded and stubborn, and I made a commitment that I was going to build bridges and make a difference.
No, that's really, it's a tragic story and makes you think about how privileged many of us listening, certainly me, are with the bridges we have that we go over every day.
Yeah.
Tell us about, you made the commitment and you realized they needed a bridge to cross these flooded rivers, but also more. There's a positive story here, and scores of bridges have come out of that tragedy. Tell us about this story. I know we've talked about the story of the sisters and the connection, and talk a little bit about the connection.
Well, yeah, it's one of my favorite stories, but it was a long time ago, and we had finished a bridge over the Nzoia River in Western Kenya, and we were setting up for the opening ceremony, which is usually a very big deal. And there was hundreds of people there and scurrying about and just locals on both sides of the river. And someone told me a story that there were two sisters and they lived on each side of the river. Okay. And they would go every morning, fetch water. They would do their laundry and they would chat. But it was impossible for them to get together because it was like a 12-hour walk or whatever it was. It was impossible. And so anyway, so you can imagine them talking down, "Hey, I have a new baby. Here's it. But anyway, the story came to me that they were separated by this barrier, and I had an idea, and the idea was, let's put ribbons on each end of the bridge, and let's let the sisters open the bridge instead of me or some other official or something. And so we did. And so the two women, I mean, there's hundreds of people around, and the two sisters, they cut the ribbons at the same time, separated by 45 meters. Then they walked together on the bridge, came together, met in the middle, and embraced. And it was like one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. You talk about connection, the power of family, the power of sisters, the power of that moment. And the smiles on their face is something that I will absolutely never forget. And so yeah, it's the power of connection. Beautiful story. Beautiful story. Bridges are beautiful things.
Bridges are beautiful things. You do say that a lot, and that picture in our minds now, that of the landscape and the bridge and the sisters, is a great demonstration of connection. I can't think of a better one at BTGA, but it's more about connection. It's what happens when connection happens, right? It's what comes out of connection. I think that's something we talk about at BTGA. And yes, the bridge provides life saving, and it's critical for saving lives. You've saved
Yeah.
tens of thousands of lives. A connection is made, and what comes out of that is hope, is opportunity, is
Mhm.
love. And I know that certainly impacted you. How can our listeners, how does that resonate with us and connection?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot that comes out. I see bridges in two different ways, and I'll get into the philosophical Harmon, but you have your physical bridges, and just like those two sisters, you had that opportunity to connect. Then children have an opportunity to go to school year round, and people can go to their market centers that are once a week. But there's also, like you said, there's bridges. For me, there's bridges of hope, which we desperately need. There's bridges of opportunities for each of us every day. There's bridges of, like you said, love. But for me, it's just that we all have the innate ability to be a bridge philosophically, but in reality, every moment, every day, all of us have a chance to make the world a little bit better by being a bridge of kindness. Does that make sense?
I think it does. No, I think it's something that is the extra layer at BTGA, and something that makes Bridging the Gap Africa really magical. You partner with communities. It's a peer
Mhm.
partnership where wonderful bridges result, but also it opens up opportunity, and something that the walking world, I know, has taught you and teaches us how much we can, with connection, by being a bridge, we can build hope. We can encourage each other in our homes and in
Yep.
our workplace, at school, wherever we operate in our daily lives. So it's a really awesome story beyond life-saving bridges. And in future webinars, we'll be able to get into some of the details of building a bridge and the technical aspects, as well as some of those specific stories from the walking world. Also, some of the challenges and lessons learned. We can dive into those in future webinars. So tune in later. Um, let's jump over to Q&A. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left. About, yeah, 3 or 4 minutes left. Let's see here. I'll go to my Q&A button if I can manage
Okay.
on here. Let's see. I'm not seeing any at the moment. We do have one question. And this comes from one of our listeners in this part of the world. Harmon, what was your biggest challenge building a bridge, or what has been the biggest challenge in the work that you do?
Oh my. You can just line them up. They're like bowling pins. Um, I mean the earlier days when I was out there all alone, just me and working with communities, that was very challenging. A lot of times the regions and I go to, and I mean the roads, what roads? There's no roads, but I would have to repair the truck after one trip, buy a new tire. The whole suspension was shot. Those are kind of obstacles and challenges. But other challenges were in are telling the story, keeping the vision alive. We've been doing this a long time, and I want to go back to being a voice. And the challenge is telling people about those who live in a walking world. People don't get it because they don't live it.
Right.
In the States, how many bridges did you go over today, Suzanne? Just cruising around, or our listeners? I mean, we go over bridges, drive over bridges, and we complain about the traffic, not
Right.
realize that bridge is changing our lives and giving us an opportunity to do things that we couldn't do without that. And the other challenge is, just getting champions, getting people to join up with us, telling the story, understanding the story, and realizing what the impact can be if you become a partner with Bridging the Gap Africa, or if you like I use the word ambassador, volunteer, whatever you can do. Man, it's a powerful thing to be a part of something like this. We're very small, but man, we have a huge impact on what we do.
Yeah,
And
micro but mighty is what I call BTGA. I mean, I've been around a lot of wonderful partners, but I've been giving to BTGA for a long time. And
you
for
have,
me, that's a choice that's quite deliberate, because the value goes so far, and we hit really places that no one thinks about. You talked about that there just aren't very many bridge builders around the world. There are a few great ones, and we know them, and we consider those folks sisters and brothers from for our family. But it is a powerful thing to be connected, and folks certainly on this call and others, and networks and families and friends can certainly tap in and be encouraged, I think. So
yeah.
the champion piece is really important. I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, I think it true because it's like people in the West and we in Africa, but there, our struggles and challenges are universal, right? They are. They are. But what separates us, if you think about it, can unite us through connection. And
Exactly.
that's what it's about for me, is connection. It's about physical bridges and relational bridges and engaging the communities we have the privilege to serve and work with. It's just absolutely amazing. And I drive people crazy. I know we're running out of time, so I will drive one person crazy anyway. And I just want to tell people, or Suzanne, be a bridge.
That's right. Be a bridge.
Be a bridge.
Be a
Say,
bridge.
yeah, it
Be a
feels
bridge.
good. Be a bridge. So yeah, that's what I encourage everyone and hope you join us in this journey and as this webinar series continues. I think it'll be fun, interesting, but this is a great introduction. I want to thank the listeners.
No, a big thanks to the listeners. We are running out of time. I see a couple of questions that we'll get to from beloved partners of BTGA and members of our community. Thank you for those, but we'll get to those another time. Harmon, thank you so much. Be a
Well,
bridge and connect with us at bridgingthegapafrica.org. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and evening. Thank you.
thanks, Suzanne. Thanks everyone for joining. Be a
Thank you.
bridge.
Be a bridge.